जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम सलान भाई, आवाज आ रही है आपको?
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम, आ रही है जी। ओके सर साहब, अल्लाह
आप होस्ट बन गए आप?
let me see.
हाँ जी, आप
So
होस्ट बन
you've already started the recording.
रिकॉर्डिंग शुरू हो गई है। आप होस्ट हैं, अब आप उसको पॉज
चलें जी। Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We'll start this session with the recitation of the Holy Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Let's join hand for a short prayer. Amen. Yes, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everybody to this Sanat-o-Tijarat webinar. It's on interview preparation plus some resume building tips as well. So it's for all the professionals, but specifically those students who are looking into internships and then preparing for the interviews and resumes. So this will definitely help them a lot. The presenter that we have today with us is Tayyib Rashid Bhai, who is from Chicago Jamaat. He is global HR, currently working at Honeywell, has over 20 years of experience in different organizations in HR and people management. So we have a wonderful resource here. Looking forward to a very interactive session. So Tayyib Bhai, please take it from here.
Jazakallah, Arslan Bhai. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I want to first thank Arslan Bhai and Imran Bhai for giving me this opportunity to speak with you. As I thought about this opportunity, I was actually really excited because it was in fact some amazing mentors that I had within the Jamaat that really changed my trajectory when I was a student to entering into the workforce. And if it wasn't for the invaluable advice and guidance that I received from my mentors, I am absolutely certain I would not have achieved nearly the level of success that I have. So it's really truly a blessing of the Jamaat that we hold sessions like this, and really the goal is of these kind of, and one of the benefits of the Jamaat is that we help lift each other up, which is really the intent. My intent here is just to really kind of provide you a little bit of insight into what I have learned in the last 15 years or so within the HR world, and a little bit longer in the people management world. So with that, let me go to the next slide here. So really, here's the agenda of what I wanted to cover today. So I'll do a brief introduction, go into a little bit more detail about my background. We'll do a quick little session with you guys. I want to understand, I have some primary objectives that I want to cover today, but I really want to make sure that this session is as valuable to you as possible. And so I want to get some feedback there. We'll do a mock interview. Ahmed Bhai has agreed to be tortured by me for a few months. We'll talk about effective interviewing skills, effective resume writing, and then strategies to land interviews. So with that, let me give you a brief introduction, and you're probably wondering who's this goofy looking guy. He looks nothing like what he looks like in the picture. So my name is Tayyib Rashid. I was actually born in Pakistan. English is not my primary language. My primary language is Urdu. So when I came to the US, I didn't know how to speak English. First, we were in Washington, D.C. for about a year. And then After that, we moved to Chicago. So I've been living in Chicago since 1988, off and on. I've probably moved out of Chicago 4 times and moved back 5 times. After high school, I spent 5 years in the United States Marine Corps. I was a sergeant for most of that enlistment. And a little fun fact about me is that during those 5 years, I had to qualify on the rifle range, and by the grace of Allah, I was able to shoot expert, which is the highest level on the rifle range, all 5 years. And so this fact kind of wins me over a lot of friends, because I just simply tell people that, hey, I can kill you from 500 yards away. So people usually are very nice to me after that. So after I got out of the Marine Corps, I worked for a little bit, and then decided, you know what, this is not working. I don't like working, jobs and just barely making ends meet. So I really wanted to accelerate my career. And it was actually on the advice of a not so well-known person at the time, by the name of Atif Mia, who advised me that I probably am wasting my talents working, kind of like entry-level managerial jobs, that I should really go look into getting an MBA program. And so I applied to a few different programs and ended up going to the University of Illinois down in Urbana-Champaign. And that is when I officially kind of pivoted my career from just general management and entry-level management into more of an HR type of a career path. During the first and second year, I landed an internship at Gillette Razors. They're probably not a big fan of me right now because of the way that I look, but whatever. Gillette is actually a P&G brand. So Procter & Gamble is the largest consumer products company in the world. And they have, I don't know how many different brands. So you think of Pampers, you think of Bounty, think of Charmin, Gillette, obviously, Downy fabric softener, and so on and so forth. And for that reason, my wife and I, we just got married and we had our son. And so we moved down to Ohio. I was with them for about 4.5 years, almost 5 years. And by the time our third child was born, we were outnumbered and we needed help. And so since I couldn't convince any of my family to move down to Cincinnati, we decided to move back to Chicago, where I ended up coming on board with a pharmaceutical company called AbbVie. They had just spun off from Abbott Labs. And so I was at AbbVie for the next about 4 years, was really enjoying the work that I was doing. And all of a sudden, I was enjoying the work that I was doing. And one thing I wanted to point out is that I'm a Bulls fan, I'm a Bears fan, and I'm a White Sox fan. I am not a Cubs fan. So anybody in Chicago who's a Cubs fan, they and I don't get along for this reason. So I was working at AbbVie in the talent management space when a company, Baxter Healthcare, called me. They said, hey, we like your resume. We see what you're doing. Would you consider an assignment in Puerto Rico? And it was just a really unique opportunity. So I jumped at the chance and I went down to Puerto Rico. I had some amazing experiences there. I was there for about 2 years. And as I was moving back to Chicago for my next assignment, that's when the pandemic hit. And the pandemic hit, and I literally found myself stranded on an island without a job, because the job that I was supposed to go into went away. And the job that I had been in previously was already filled by somebody else. So basically, I exited the company, and that it was a really trying time. And by the grace of Allah, I wrote to Hazur, lots of prayers, and within a matter of 6 weeks, I was able to land a job. That they asked me to move to Washington and a little-known company known as Microsoft. And that was I can't even tell you what an amazing experience that was. Learned a lot about the tech industry, but as we were out there and with this whole pandemic, I think the one thing that became really, really clear was that family was really important, and being close to the masjid was very important. And so when I heard that there were plans being finalized for Zion to build the new mosque, which is what is now known as the Fateh Azim Mosque, I said, I got to come back. So I ended up moving back We live close to Zion. We're actually part of the Zion Jamaat, not the Chicago Jamaat, but part of Zion Jamaat. And, 4 kids, we're blessed to be living relatively close to the masjid. And I ended up switching one more time, and currently I work for Honeywell as a global HR director. So I wanted to kind of share my journey with you, so you kind of have a little bit of background, so that if there's anything that you're curious about any of these experiences, please feel free to reach out to me afterwards, and we can chat. So now here's what I was hoping to accomplish.
Everybody, I think we lost you. You're stuck. If you can, if you can hit. Yes, yeah. I think it's better now. Yeah.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, but really what I want to know from all of you is, besides this, what else would you, I mean, we still have about 45 minutes here together. So what else besides this would you want to learn or know about or discuss?
Ahmed, do you want to comment on that? You're on mute, Ahmed.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
I mean, I have been bombarded with mock interviews in the past week. I'm taking a course. I think what I have noticed during the interviews, and I had one today for a job, I think one of the most asked question is, why did you choose? What do you tell me something about yourself? Why are you here? And I think we have control of our own stories, but we don't know what the other person is going to think about us. But what is more important, that we have control of our own story. So something on that side, how do we shape our story?
Okay.
That's a good point.
Okay, that's a very good question.
That's totally good.
What else?
That's totally cool.
Walaikum salam.
My question is that there's always questions there. What's your weaknesses and your, how to tackle that question? What's the plus points and what's the weaknesses?
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
All right. That's a very, very good question, and a very common question that's asked. Sure. What else?
Yeah. One other thing that I can think of is that when you're switching a job, or like, especially you shared your story that you were part of different organizations which are in completely different industry. So when you're switching job from one industry or one company to another one, how do you know that, or how can you determine that this is the right move for your career?
Okay.
Assalamualaikum, this is Imran. I think it would be really helpful if you go over how to explain gaps in a resume as well. I think a lot of people are trying to make transitions, and they may be out of work for 2-3 months or 5 months, and it's helpful to explain how to talk through that.
Sure, absolutely. I went through that myself, so happy to do that.
One more comment that we have on the chat is that how to recognize if the company has the right culture.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah. Okay, great. So if there's any other points that you want me to cover, please feel free to put them in chat, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so I'll ask towards the end. I'll try to reserve some time, and we can cover all of those things. So let's move forward. Let's go right into the current state, and I want to paint this picture for you guys. Not because I'm trying to scare anybody, but because knowledge is power. And the more we are armed with knowledge, the more we can then adjust our approach and adjust our strategy of how we will find success. So here's a few questions just to kind of get people involved. So let's go to the first question. What do you think what percentage of job openings in a typical company are posted externally? Any guesses?
If I have to guess, I would say 75%.
75%. Any other guesses?
Less than half.
Less than half, less than 50%. Okay. Anybody else want to guess? I'll take a third guess.
Can you please explain the question a bit more?
So when you look for jobs and you go to a company's website and you see a whole bunch of jobs posted there, what percentage do those jobs typically represent of all the jobs that are available in the company?
They are not doing good.
No. So really what I'm trying to get at is that the jobs that you see that are posted for external applicants, those really represent less than 30% of all available jobs in the company.
Wow.
Okay. And the reason why that's significant is that there are a lot more jobs that the company is trying to fill that they haven't posted externally. Okay, this is true of virtually every company that I've been at. And the reason why this is true is because oftentimes you'll have jobs that are being done really poorly. And they want to move on somebody, or they want to replace that person, but they're afraid that they're not going to find the right candidate, or there's a bunch of different reasons why that job isn't posted, or they're trying to figure out, okay, how do we fill this job internally from a different candidate that's already within the company? So if you don't see a whole lot of jobs that are posted outside, don't be disappointed, because there's a lot more jobs that a company probably has if you can get in touch with the right person. That goes to the second question, is what is the most common method whereby a manager fills an open role? What do you think?
Communication, direct networking.
That's correct. Networking. Networking, having that personal referral, 85% of the time, that's how a job is filled. Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who's perfect for that job. Okay? So keep that in mind. Only 15% of the jobs out there are filled through just random, somebody applies for a job and they randomly get selected for an interview, and then they end up getting the job. Okay. Third question, how long does a typical recruiter look at a resume before putting that resume aside and moving on to the next resume?
6 seconds.
6 seconds? Any other guesses?
I would say like 30 seconds probably.
Yeah, so there's 2 rounds. The first round on average, it's about 7.4 seconds. It's less than 10 seconds. Okay. And I can tell you that when I look at resumes, if I got to spend more than 10 seconds to figure out if this person is even in the ballpark, I'm not going to spend that time. Right. So the first round, you have less than 10 seconds to convince somebody that you are somebody that perhaps deserves a second look. Right. And then the second round is really kind of like a little bit more detailed look, which is 30 seconds to a minute. So, it's really, really important that when you put together your resume, that you've got, that you're really, really detail oriented, and you've got, you go through it with a fine-tooth comb so that there's no spelling errors, that it looks nice, and that you're able to convey at least a little bit what you're about. Fourth question, on average, how many candidates do you think apply for a typical entry-level job at a Fortune 500 company? So there's one opening. How many different applicants do you think they get?
200 to 300.
Yeah, so the average is about 250. but there's a very large variation. If you're at a company like Microsoft, a typical opening that I saw was upwards of 3,000 to 4,000 people for entry level. Okay. And so, you know, some of the other lesser known companies, or perhaps companies that might be struggling, they might only get, you know, 30 or 40 or 50 applicants for a typical entry level job. Here's an interesting one that I learned recently. What percent of jobs that exist today will also exist in the year 2030?
That's a scary one. Let's say 50%.
15%. Things are changing and jobs are changing. And so you have to constantly be learning and upgrading your skills. Okay. 85% of the jobs by some, some people estimate that 85% of the jobs that will exist in 2030 have not yet been invented. Okay. So it's extremely important for you to think about how you continuously learn and pick up new skills. Now, here's the last one's hopefully an easy one. What is the single most important skill that you need to advance your career faster than on average?
I think there are more than one answer. Probably one would be networking, again, knowing the people, and yeah, that's my answer.
But there's one. I don't care what industry you're in. I don't care what job you're doing or how good you are. You could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, you could be a software engineer, you could be anything.
Management.
Well,
Diamonds.
skill. What is the skill?
Public speaking.
It's the ability to effectively communicate and tell a memorable story. That's it. Communication is absolutely the most critical skill. People who struggle to advance, they could be there. And I'll tell you my personal experience. I have come across some brilliant technical minds. They can do some amazing things. They cannot have a conversation with anyone. Okay. And that's the thing to remember, is that, you know, your ability to communicate your ideas, your ability to influence others, your ability to effectively tell a story that makes sense, you know, is memorable, is absolutely critical. So that's one skill that I would encourage all of you to really figure out what you need to do to improve that. And it's a never-ending thing. You can always improve that, and it's something that you should always keep at the top of your mind. So with that, let's go into the mock interview. Okay. So Ahmed Bhai, I have your resume in front of me. Thank you for sharing that. Remind me again exactly what job did you apply for?
I actually had the interview for that job today. It was a claims internship.
Yeah, so I am interviewing you for a job. I have your resume, but I don't know which job you applied to me for. I'm the hiring manager for this job that you applied for. I've got several jobs open. Which job did you apply for?
As a project management and IPG health. Project management intern and IPG health.
Project management intern. Got it. Okay.
IPG health.
Okay. Understand. All right. So let's start, Ahmed Bhai. Can you tell me a little bit about your background?
Yes. My name is, as I said, my name is Ahmed Alvi. I am a current student at Rutgers University, Newark. Something about my background is that I'm from Pakistan. I moved to the US at about 14 with my family. When I came, I didn't know actually how to communicate in English. So that was a huge problem for me, because I was going to be either put in ESO for about 2 years, 3 years, and graduating late, given the time 5-6 years in high school. So I made a decision to quickly adapt and learn. And by a short period of time, I was able to finish high school in 4 years and then move up to college compared to other ESL learners in the school. So this is something unique about me. Okay, very good. Well, thank you for sharing that. Let's talk a little bit about
what is it that you're looking for from this experience, the internship experience? What are the key drivers for why you actually applied for this job?
Yes, I applied for this job because of two main reasons. I'm actually a shift leader at Dunkin'. So I started as a team member and then I moved up to a shift leader position. So I have managed a team of 15 people, sales, customer service, and I can take these skills into this position of project management intern. I've always thought about pursuing a career in project management. I'm in the process of doing a certificate at LinkedIn in project management as a beginner certificate, and then I hope to and I wish to move to more advanced certificates in project management, which requires exams. Furthermore, I have done various projects at my school. I have done budget analysis projects and cost analysis projects. I read policies. I was in charge of the team, and I have done energy sale prices projects in which we collected data for over 20 companies and managed their data and came to a conclusion of how can they better provide cost-effective logistics. So these are the skills I want to bring in project management and pursue a career in project management in the long run. And that is why I have applied for this position today.
I understand. Can you tell me a little bit about more about the cost-effective logistics? What was the main issue that you were dealing with there, and what kind of a result was achieved as an outcome of the work that you delivered?
Yes. So it's a bit complicated, but I will start with an example.
Okay.
We were actually, as we collected data from these 20 companies, Shell, Exxon, and other big companies and small companies, we were looking at their sale prices. So sale price equals the gas prices, because sale is a commodity. It includes all of the the prices of the production price, the labor price. So sale is a commodity which you sell. So the price is basically a representation of all the labor went into it and all the cost. So we're looking at a trend that the prices were reaching a peak, even though the international markets were stable. So what we looked into it, there were state laws, such as Virginia, they dropped their prices, and a lot of travelers from, Pennsylvania, a lot of travelers who were traveling through New Jersey to Pennsylvania, they started filling up gas at Pennsylvania. So we derived a logistics. We said, instead of decreasing our prices, we can put gas stations at key places, which will reduce the travel time of the travelers, and they will end up filling gas at these specific gas stations in New Jersey while charging the same price. So the outcome was that we were able to still keep the same price and take some customers from Pennsylvania and transfer them to New Jersey.
Okay, so what was the benefit for the organization?
The benefit was that they didn't have to compete in a price war, because if they drop price, the other drop price, and then you can have a price war. So we had to keep the cost in mind. We didn't want it to raise cost, such as opening another gas station in Virginia, which might start a price war. Rather than that, we chose a specific location based on the traffic of highway, and we, with limited budget, we were able to open a gas station with the same price, and through that we took a lot of customers.
Okay, very good. Let's shift gears a little bit. Ahmed Bhai, can you talk a little bit about what kind of work gives you energy, and what kind of work drains energy from you?
I need a few seconds, if you don't
Sure.
mind.
Easy.
If you don't mind repeating the question again.
I'd like to get an idea of what kind of work you like to do that really energizes you, and what
Yes,
kind of work that you're perhaps not too excited about, and work that really drains you.
Teamwork is actually which excites me. I have done a lot of projects. I have took actually I'm taking currently enrolled in 3 courses. One is a statistics analysis course. The other one is I'm part of honors college, so 2 of them are, I mean, constantly doing projects. The whole semester, the class is regarding projects. So one thing which motivates me is working in teams. I've been constantly working in teams for the past semester, since the beginning of fall 2022. And this is what motivates me. But at the same time, working in teams, a huge problem comes, which is time management and communication with the team members. So one scenario is that we were doing a childcare policy analysis, in which we saw government policy affecting the newer childcare centers and how they were charging the childcare rates. During this project, some of my team members, they lag behind in communication, and due to one team member not doing their work, the others were dependent on that, and they couldn't finish work at time. So we had to, we came up with a decision that not only that team member was accountable for their lack of communication, but the other team members should have immediately connected with that team member and asked them for what was the issue. So we all took accountability and made a new decision, and we were able to finish the project within the deadline, and actually we were rated the #1 in the class. And this semester we are doing another project, and this project is a representation of the previous project. And if we can do, if we can get an A in this project, we are actually going to directly have a meeting with Newark's mayor, and they're going to fund us for this project.
Okay. Thank you for that. Last question. Why are you the best candidate for this job?
Why I'm the best candidate for this job?
Yes.
I think I am the best candidate. Yes, I'm. You were saying something?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think I'm the best candidate for this job because the skills I bring. I've been working for over 3 years at Dunkin'. I've done multiple team projects, and I have a passion for this position as a project management intern. I've been looking at not only IPG Health, I will be honest, I've been looking at different companies for a project management intern. I personally took a decision to start a certificate in project management and later be a Scrum Master certificate, which requires 1 year of dedication at least. That's why I think I'm the best candidate for this job, in a sense. But I might have some ups and downs too. I might lag behind in one thing, but I'm always adaptable to learning. And this is one good thing about me.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and we'll be in touch.
Jazakallah.
Okay. All right. So I hope I wasn't too hard on you, Ahmed Bhai. But let's talk. I want to get the group involved here. Just want to hear from the group. What did Ahmed Bhai do well?
I think the technical questions that you asked him, particularly related to his job and profession, he answered those very well.
Okay. I agree. What else?
I think I would say he was able to provide evidence for every question you provided, and it wasn't just like a Google search answer. It had evidence to it and a personal example. It was unique to himself.
Yep, definitely. Given the details of his answers, I could tell that he actually did the work, and that's really, really important. Especially when I interview students, sometimes they're describing the work that they're doing, and we're like, well, did you do that work? Well, no, it was my team that did it, but I was part of that team. It's like, okay, no, You want to focus on the work that you delivered, not what the team delivered. Okay, what else? And anything else that Ahmed Bhai did, notably well, in your opinion?
I think one other thing that was he was enthusiastic, willing to learn and
Yes.
putting it out there, that I'm not the perfect one, but I am willing to, learn new skills. So
Yeah.
his excitement was, you could see that.
Yeah, definitely. He came across as somebody who was, authentic, genuine, energized by the idea of the position. Use the word passion, which is, I love that. Like whenever I hear somebody talk about how passionate they are about the position or the job, and it really kind of, it's congruent with how they've answered some of the previous questions. That's definitely a very, very positive sign. What are some things that Ahmed Bhai could have done better?
In my opinion, I think keeping it a little bit brief and giving more time to the interviewer to speak and ask questions, that is something that could be improved.
Okay. Yeah, I think for the most part, Ahmed Bhai did pretty well. But there were a few times where he didn't know exactly where to take the conversation. And so he rambled a little bit. It wasn't too bad, but that's something that you want to be very careful. And that's why mock interviews and practicing your answers is really, really critical, because you want to be concise, you want to be to the point, and that's it, right? But you want to provide enough details, but you don't want to continue to ramble on and on and on. What else?
Yeah. One thing that I didn't think Ahmed Bhai did especially well was that first question you asked. And I honestly, I felt like we lost a lot of steam at the beginning, which was, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yep.
We started hearing about Pakistan and all sorts of stuff. And I didn't know what he was talking about or how to do the job. And so I felt like that was a big struggle. Yeah. And then we lost you at the beginning. And if I was the interviewer, I would have ended the interview pretty quickly.
No, I actually agree on that. I blanked out in this first question.
Yeah, I think you spent a critical amount of time.
What's surprising is I have been asked this question today in my interview, and I did amazing. But I just for this split second, I just my memory wiped out.
No, and that happens. It's okay, right? It's okay. But you recovered nicely after that. So that's
absolutely. Yep.
The other thing that I would say is that, the question around what kind of work gives you energy and what kind of work drains your energy. I think you took a moment to kind of gather your thoughts, which is perfectly fine, by the way. Okay. Nobody's going to knock you for that. But then when you came back with the answer, you talked about teamwork, and then you started talking about 3 courses that you were taking, and then you kind of came back roundabout way to projects and how you love working on projects. It's like, okay, fine, you could have saved yourself probably a good 30 seconds by going straight to, hey, look, the kind of work that I love is managing projects and leading teams. Right? Nice, concise, right to the point. And then I'm not really sure I got an answer for what drains your energy. I certainly got an answer that indicated that you were frustrated with some members of your team, but it didn't really come across like that's not work. That's just simply team dynamics, right? I'm talking about what kind of work do you not like to do? Everybody has work that they don't like to do. But I didn't ask if you're not going to do it. I just said, what do you not like to do? So that I have an idea of where I need you, where I can leverage your strengths, and what are some of your opportunities that perhaps I want to be careful with giving you that kind of work that doesn't necessarily play to your strengths. Okay. So I felt like that last question around the energy, it was incomplete. Okay. So that's just a little bit for you to think about. It's okay to talk about what you do well and what you don't do well. But make sure that you're actually answering the question that is asked and not a different question. Okay? So thank you, Ahmed Bhai. I don't want to take any more time on this because I do want to cover some of the other topics, particularly the questions that were asked. So really appreciate it. I hope I hope this exercise was helpful for you and everybody that was listening as well. Let's go to the effective interviewing skills. So the kind of questions that you can expect during an interview kind of fall, what I would say, fall into two kind of categories. One is the technical questions that are very specific to the type of role that you're applying for. And second is the more general question, which is kind of talking about the cultural fit. Okay. So the first few questions that I asked Ahmed Bhai were more in the technical realm. And then the last question and perhaps the first question were more related to the general question of cultural fit. So as you think about, you've applied to a job and you get a call and you set up a time for the interview and you go to the interview, you walk into the office, you're greeted by the receptionist, you sit down, they call you in, you meet with the interviewer and you sit down and you start the conversation. When did your interview actually start?
I think when you walk in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Actually, it would even start before that. It's when you got the call, right? It's when you got the call that we'd like to speak with you. Okay. From that point forward, you're interviewing. Okay. So when you park the car in their parking lot, you're on the interview. When you go and talk to the receptionist, you're on the interview. That's the mentality that you have to have. I kid you not, I've had situations where the person that we were interviewing, they were rude to the receptionist. Okay. And the receptionist like, look, I don't know about this, but that person was pretty rude to me. We didn't extend the offer. We didn't extend the invitation for them to come back. So keep that in mind. Second question. Okay. What kind of interview questions will you be asked? So this is important. So here's a job description. Let me share with you. So this is a job description for a accounting analyst at an insurance company. Okay. What kind of questions can you expect from this job?
I think it's a lot of preparing reports and records and stuff. So definitely there will be technical questions, their ability to prepare reports and then communicate and present them. That would be one of the questions. And then
so what's the question, right? The way that I would advise that you think about it is that when you read the job description, and I'm just going to give you the answer for the sake of time. When you read the job description, take each one of these bullet points and in front of that, write the words, tell me about a time when you prepared and analyzed financial statements. Tell me about a time when you reviewed testing and validated accounting impact from system changes, right? So basically take the bullet point and turn it into a question. And think about what do you have in terms of your experience, in terms of your knowledge, in terms of things that you've done in the past or things that you've learned about in the past that you would do. Maybe there's a bullet point on here and you really haven't done these things, but that gives you a clue as to what you need to read up on and study up on so that you can say, you know what, I haven't really done this, but here's how I would go about it, right? I've thought about this question. I haven't had the experience yet because, I've been a student. I can talk a little bit about what I've done in a project, but really working at a corporation, if I was to be doing this, here's how I would go about it and take them through your line of thinking of why, what plan you have. Okay. So don't, as far as like the technical questions go, you already have them. They're all in the job description. As far as the cultural questions go, before every job, there's usually a little paragraph talking about the company. That should give you a clue as to what the company is about. So what kind of cultural questions you can get from that. Make sense?
Yep.
So then let's talk about a few other things here. Make sure you research the company. I can't tell you the number of times people will come and interview and they don't know the first thing about what we do. Not a good look. Practice, practice, practice. And the reason why you're practicing is for one reason only, which is that you want to be able to tell your story in a very simple and concise way, right? So whenever I'm getting ready for an interview, or I've done this in the past, where I will go to my brother, my sister, anybody who has the time, be like, look, here's the job description, ask me questions, right? And they can choose a question from the job description, or they can choose any question. And my job is to provide a coherent response to that. But it's really important to stay in character, because if you break character, guess what? You're probably not practicing well. And you're not going to get the benefit of that practice when it comes to an actual interview. I've already talked about that. Carefully listen to the question and answer only the question that is asked. Don't answer a different question. Here's a simple way for you to remember how to structure your answers. Use the car example, which is context of the situation, the actions that you took, and what was the outcome or what was the result. Now, with Ahmed Bhai, I kind of walked him through that when we were talking about the technical question, but during a real live interview, you want to present all three of those elements in your response. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Confidence, positive attitude. I think, Ahmed Bhai, you did that extremely well. Smile often, guys. Don't be a robot. Show your personality, chuckle every now and then. Make fun of yourself, whatever. And, light humor is always a good thing. Never, ever, 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 ever bash any former employer. It is not a good look. I don't care what that former employer did to you. The only person that's going to look bad is you during that interview if you do that. And then make sure that you have thought about the position and thought about the company, and that you ask some good questions towards the end of the interview. You can always tell if someone is really, really engaged about and interested in the job by the kind of questions that they ask about the job or about the company or about anything that's really important to them and their ability to deliver in that role. And then, of course, send a thank you note and email afterwards. Okay. Any questions or comments on this part? Okay, let's keep going. So I'm gonna stop here for a second, and I'm gonna answer some of the questions about that you asked. So one of the things said, hey, tell me about yourself.
Tayyab, we have a hand raised.
Yep, go ahead.
Arusa Malik Sahiba.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
I had a question about how to answer an interview question that's specifically technical to a skill that you might not necessarily know or be very familiar with.
Okay. If it's a technical question that you're not familiar with, I think it's really important to just, say, hey, look, I'm not really sure what the answer to that is. I have not had any experience with it, but if that's a requirement of the job, then I can tell you that here's some other skills that I have picked up in the past that I did not know at the time that I was required to use it, but I leveraged my resourcefulness. I put in the effort. I learned enough so that I was proficient at it, and then I was able to use that skill. In my example, I actually came up with that exact scenario where, way back in the day, I was terrible at Excel. I had no idea how to write formulas or do anything like that, right? And in the HR world, you're often dealing with a lot of data, right? So how do you analyze that data? And so I talked about, well, this is a situation where I didn't have the skill, and I volunteered to do the work that I knew was going to stretch me in a different way. And so I used that example to convey my desire to learn, my desire to take risks, and my desire to really kind of put myself out of my comfort zone in an effort to grow myself. But you don't want to fake it, right? If it's truly something that you have no idea about, just be very upfront about it.
Jazakallah.
Absolutely. Other questions? Okay. So there's a question about, hey, tell me about yourself. The first slide that I shared with you, that story is something that I have kind of used over and over again. I used a slight, different elements here and there, depending on who the audience is. But it's a story that I can tell in 5 minutes. It's a story that I can tell in 30 seconds and everything in between. So you want to maybe take the time to build a slide for yourself and get comfortable telling that story. Hey, I'm going to start here, then go here, then go here, then go here, then go here. And you practice that. So when someone says, hey, tell me something about yourself, tell them 5, 6, 7, 8 bullet points that you really want to share with people that conveys who you are genuinely as a person. Okay. Why are you here? Yeah, go ahead.
That question, are they asking for your personal backstory generally, or are they asking for your work experience? And I always thought of it as, give me a summary of your resume so that I can start asking questions that are more detailed. And then you give them a little flavor of your personality in between. Yeah,
so that's a great question. The way that I have successfully and effectively answered that question, it's really about it's a little bit of both. You want to convey who you are as a person, because from a company standpoint, cultural fit is extremely important. There is nothing worse than hiring a well-qualified person who's just a bad cultural fit, right? So they want to know that you're able to do the job, but they also want to know that you're a guy that or a girl that is actually going to be someone who's going to fit in with the team and with the organization. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how to shape your story, I think that kind of goes along with that, right? I mean, you want to talk a little bit about your background, where you came from, maybe mention something in your family that you feel comfortable about, your hobbies, whatever that is. But you also want to talk about, some of the things that you've done. You want to throw some of your accomplishments out there, just so that they know, hey, this is the caliber person that you're getting. The question on how to talk about your weakness. Look, this is something that is a little bit tricky. You want to talk about your weakness in a way that shows that you are self-aware. Okay. Believe it or not, I had an interview today and I got asked this question. Hey, tell me about your weakness. And I said, look, I'll be honest with you. I'm a guy that's really impatient. When I want to do something and I want to move forward, I move forward and I move forward fast. But there are times when, people that are around me that I need to collaborate with me, they're not on the same page. And so in the past, what has happened is that I have decided to move on my own, and I ended up getting the job done. But what ended up happening was that, I wasn't able to create that strong bond with some of the other colleagues that I would have wanted to. So this is something that I've kind of become a little bit more aware of. And I am working to take the time to make sure that people that I need to partner with, that they're truly, that they truly understand what I'm trying to accomplish, and that I truly understand why they're hesitant or what are their obstacles. Because ultimately, it's not about one single transaction or one single project. It's about how do you create that environment where, as an organization, you move forward together. And you can't always do everything yourself. You need other people too. So this is an area that has been highlighted to me, and I've become more and more aware that I have a tendency to do that sometimes, and I have gotten better as I've gone on, as I've become more aware and started working on this. So what you're trying to convey here is humility, that you're not perfect, okay? But more importantly, what you're trying to convey here is that it's something that you are aware of and that you're actively working to improve and that you're learning as a result of it. When someone tells me, hey, I can't really think of a weakness, it conveys a lack of self-awareness. Everybody has a weakness, okay? Steve Jobs had a weakness. Bill Gates has a weakness. Jeff Bezos has a weakness. It's just about making sure that you take the time to reflect and understand what that weakness is and how are you improving that. The other question here is about, how do you, when you switch jobs, different industries, how do you determine if it's the right move? I think you have to be very intentional about why you're moving from one job to the next. And if you're leaving a job because you hate the job and you just need something else, that's not a good reason. Okay, as an employer, I don't want to hear that, hey, I didn't like that job, so I found a different one. Okay, what I want to hear as an employer is, hey, I was doing a job, it was good, I was happy, but I found this opportunity and it pulled me in. It was so compelling, it was so exciting for me that I had to go pursue it. And as a result of it, I ended up getting it. Or better yet, I was pulled into this job. I didn't even apply for it. Somebody asked me to come and check it out, and it was quite a unique challenge, and so I took that job. Okay, I hope that helps kind of clarify that. Last question here: gaps in resume. It happens. I think most people in their career will experience a layoff at some point in their in life. Okay, at that point in time, it's important to just be very straightforward. Hey, look, this is what happened. The organization decided to make a change, and unfortunately, I was one of the employees that was impacted. Okay, and in the meantime, while I was looking for my next opportunity, here's what I did with my time. I volunteered, I mentored, I went and I completed a project at home that I'd been meaning to do for a long, long time. Okay, the idea is that you want to take that time and do something productive with it, or you want to build a new skill, right? It's not about you being dealt a bad deck of cards and then you just kind of gave up. As an employer, I want to know that you use that time and you took a bad situation and used it to your advantage to actually get better. I know we're over time at this point, so I will stop here. I can share this presentation for everyone's benefit. There's a whole bunch of extra tips in here on what you can do, but let me leave you with this. So strategies to generate great interviews. First and foremost is prayer. I can tell you that, without prayer, nothing has ever worked out for me. Every time something's worked out for me, it has started with prayer. Second, networking. Third most important thing, networking. Fourth most important thing, networking. And fifth most important thing is applying to open positions at a company's career site. Like it's that far low on the list. So, my advice to you, and these are the last couple of points I'll make, is number one, be proactive. Do not wait. Okay, as long as you're doing something, it's a good thing. Secondly, begin with the end in mind. Think very, very clearly about what your goals are, what you want to accomplish, and work your way back. And as you do that, create that plan, create that blueprint, and put first things first. Don't skip steps. Okay, if you have a plan, make sure you follow that plan, however perfect or imperfect it is, but do it. Then when it comes to relationships, make sure that you're going into it and you're networking with the intent of building genuine relationships, with the intent to offer value and service to others. Naturally, as MDs, we are kind of programmed to serve others. So we just take that and we extend that into networking. Be authentic, embrace yourself, embrace your quirks. Don't be afraid to laugh at yourself. But most importantly, don't try to be somebody that you're not. Okay? If you try to fake being somebody other than who you are, it's going to come through, and people are able to tell. And then lastly, be intellectually curious. You know, go have coffee with somebody, invite them out, you know, to network, and really find out the why of what people do. Why do people do what people do? You'll learn some amazing things. So with that, I will close this presentation. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, or if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'm happy to connect with you individually. Just appreciate everyone's time and great interaction that you guys had with me today. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah, Tayyib. That was a great interactive session, very informative. So yeah, we will share the presentation and the information to contact Tayyib is provided. So if anybody has any further questions, please feel free to reach out. Before we conclude the session, Imran Bhai, do you have any closing remarks? And if not, then if you can please lead us in silent prayer.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. So I guess the first thing is, everyone, Jazakallah for your attendance. And Tayyib Bhai, thank you so much for sharing some of your insights. I always look forward to your talks and the way you structure and break things down. So Jazakallah for that. Look, this is as a department, the Department of Sanat-o-Tijarat is really trying to make a proactive effort to help individuals in whatever capacity that you may be. On a regional basis, we're holding Amity Conference for Entrepreneurs. So you may have seen that or attended that in the past. If you haven't had one in your region, please reach out to your regional Qaid or reach out to your regional Nazim Sanat-o-Tijarat to make sure that that gets on the calendar. It's a wonderful event. Secondarily, is we're doing these webinars on a very periodic basis. So we do these every other month now. And, you know, the first one, we had a session on Turo and how to start a business on Turo from a side hustle standpoint. This session was designed for those folks who are applying for jobs and internships and are thinking about that resume and also their interview preparation that you're involved in. So this mock interview is a part of that. We're going to periodically be having more of these sessions, so look out in your inbox for more of those. And the last thing that I'll sort of refer to and mention is we are very open to referrals. We are very open to suggestions. As a department, you're always welcome to email me at sanat-o-tijarat@mkausa.org. I'll ask our Salon Bhai to put that in the chat as well, so people can reach out if there are individual suggestions or recommendations. But we're here to help. We're here to support. And we really appreciate everyone leaning forward. The best way to help yourself is to take advantage of the resources that you have available. And inshallah, we can help you do that. So Jazakallah, with that, I'd like to everyone, please join me in silent prayer. Ameen. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah, everyone. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah.